Wildcard weekend, the Colts will face the Texans in the first matchup on ESPN. Both of these teams have had their fair share of adversity. Houston started 0-3, but then won a franchise record 9 in a row to take control of the division. Indy makes the playoffs after starting the season 1-5. Both Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck hope those teams can keep that momentum rolling.
It feels like it's been the postseason for us for a while now, and I don't think anybody's approach will change, in this locker room just because we're, quote unquote, in the dance. We're certainly excited. Those that have been in it excited. Those that the first time excited. But we know it's a football game at the end of the day, and for us that means focusing on the process, making sure we're getting better today, and excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, I played in a lot of big games before, in college and stuff, but I mean, you can't really, pick college playoffs with the NFL. This is, the hardest business, top notch. It's a whole new season, whole new, speed of game. So it's going to be, new for me, of course, because it's my first one, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Every play counts, every moment counts, and, you can't slip up.
We'll say Happy New Year now to Mike Wells, who's in Indianapolis covering the Colts. What's the mindset, Mike, of this team heading into the weekend?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year's, Wendy. Well, Frank Reich texted veteran kicker Adam Vinatieri on Monday night and asked him about his thoughts on playing in the playoffs. Vinatieri has played in 30 playoff games, and some of his biggest kicks have occurred in the postseason. The Colts, on the other hand, only have 15 players who have played in the playoffs. Rookie linebacker Darius Leonard said Vinatieri's message was very simple. Don't get too emotional. Don't look at it as a playoff game. They're facing the Houston Texans. When they have a job, get it done, make the play in front of you, and everything will be just fine. Vinatieri's message is very similar to what Coach Frank Reich said when they started the season 1-5.
We know the result is just a consequence of what we do. So, yeah, we have goals, we have aspirations, but we know to get there, we've got to work. We've got to do it the right way. I think Frank lays that out very well for us. I think the players in this locker room buy into that, and we understand that we have a great opportunity today to get better as football players, get better individually, get better as a unit, get better as a team.
Wendy, on the injury front, receiver T.Y. Hilton re-injured his right ankle against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, but Hilton says do not worry about it. He will be on the football field on Sunday in Houston. That is a good thing because in his career, Hilton has 932 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 7 career games in Houston. In fact, Hilton said NRG Stadium is basically a second home for him.
Well, that's certainly good news for the Colts. They'd like to see that. Can we just talk about Adam Vinatieri for one minute? 30 playoff games.
Yeah.
How about that?
What a career.
Yeah, too bad he's never had a big kick, You gonna
have any stories to tell?
I don't think so. Man, can we buy the book? Can we buy the advanced copy?
I was on the wrong side of one of those.
Yes, you were. I was there for that one, too. Just impressive.
You're not alone.
Yeah, you've got some pretty elite company. Here's the good news. Listen, also impressive is the way Andrew Luck has bounced back and played this year. We knew he was a great quarterback coach, but as you watch his season in particular this time around, what stands out the most to you?
I really think I was a little bit disappointed he didn't make it to the Pro Bowl. I thought a little bit snubbed by that. And, I think he's probably the guy that's going to lead the pack as far as comeback player of the year. Look what he's accomplished. He's carried that team. And Frank Reich and him have really become a great team. You start 1-5 like that. That's the will of the players and the will of that coaching staff. So he's done an outstanding job. Chris Ballard's gone out and really built up the offensive line around him. I think what's going to be the difference in this ball game is they're number 1 against sacks per pass in the league. And that's a big tribute to Andrew getting rid of the ball as well as that offensive line protected.
On the flip side of this equation, of course, is Deshaun Watson. He was injured last year, so this will be his playoff debut. What are you keeping your eye on?
Boy, talk about the flip side. Watson was sacked 62 times
totally
this year, which is
situation.
an unbelievable number. And he, I was talking to some Texans coaches before the game on Sunday. I was there, and they were praising Watson for how much better he's been at protecting himself when he gets out of the pocket, making the right decisions, knowing when to get down, throw the ball away, etc. Then I watched the game, and it didn't look like that at all. It looked like it was back to his old ways, and he was the team's leading rusher on Sunday in that victory over Jacksonville that sealed the division for them. I talked to him after the game. I said, is this going to be how it is going forward? And he, of course, said whatever it takes for the team to win. But if they're planning to make a deep playoff run, I think what we're looking for is to see Deshaun Watson protect himself better than we saw on Sunday.
Well, listen, you talked about the 62 sacks. So just to put it in perspective, that led the league, and it's the first time a quarterback has been sacked at least 60 times since John Kitna back in '06. So it's been a minute.
He took a big shot. They've got to check him out.
Nick Foles has to get ready.
It's about to get turned up in here.
There's going to be a parade on Broad Street. If this is a dream, don't wake me up.
Stop me if you've seen this movie before. The Eagles head to the Windy City to face the Bears, who gave Philly some help to get into the postseason by taking down the Vikings in their season finale. And Nick Foles is back at it. The magic fix is in for Philly fans as the play of Super Bowl MVP Foles has propelled the Eagles into the playoffs for the second straight season. And of course, everybody wants to rub that, was it crystal ball? I don't know what it is, but they want that magic back, that Nick Foles magic. Can he do it again?
Well, I think, he's done it. He's had a good stretch. I really said about a month and a half ago, I like the character of this football team. I think Doug Peterson's done a tremendous job getting them into the playoffs. My problem a little bit is moving forward is the Chicago Bears defense has wrecked every quarterback they've run into really all season long, where they rank number one in the league as far as quarterback ratings. So I think it's going to be a little bit stiff competition there at Soldier Field. I like what Nick has done, but I think they're running into a stiff test.
Does this team respond differently? Is it unfair to say they respond just a little differently to Nick Foles than to Carson Wentz, or is this just a matter of he's our guy now, that we go forward?
I think, again, history repeats itself, and they did it a year ago. So I think they're kind of used to it, and they have confidence in it. I really think the biggest thing I've noticed is the emergence and more of the ball going to Alshon Jeffrey with Nick Foles than it was with Carson Wentz.
They have a clear connection, those two.
There's no doubt.
Question about that.
And Alshon answers the bell and has big over the last few weeks.
What's your confidence level, Dan, in Mitchell Trubisky?
It's not as high as it is in the quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls that are in this playoff field. The rest of the NFC, you see Russell Wilson and Drew Brees.
That confidence level has to be pretty high.
But I believe that the Bears coaching staff is confident in its ability to put Trubisky in advantageous situations. So they know that he's a young player and an inexperienced player at a key position. And if they ask too much of him, if they put the game on him, that's not going to be to their advantage. If they run the ball, if they play their style of defense, and if they ask Mitchell Trubisky to do the things that he's good at and comfortable with, then that's a formula for success. And I think the year they just had has proven to them that they can do that.
Coach?
I think he gained a whole lot of confidence, going to Minnesota last week, tough environment, division opponent, a desperate team, had to win to get in the playoffs, the Minnesota Vikings. And I was really impressed with how he performed on third down against a good defense. I know they were missing a couple of their corners, but all in all, they were missing a couple of receivers. And the quarterback position, Mitchell Trubisky, I thought performed very well, especially on obvious pass down, third down, and their third down percentage was as good as it's been all season.
Is this the best weekend of football all year?
That's a good one.
It's a good. It's pretty good. Every single game I look at, I think, yes.
They were tough to pick, I think.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it'll be interesting. The wheel, though, already turning for those teams who've lost head coaches who will be in the mix for a new head man. It's the coaching carousel. We've seen it go round and round before. Where will it stop? We'll try and figure that out next.
You're watching NFL Live, presented by KFC.
Abundance of coaching news over the past few days. The Jets, who finished last in the AFC East the last 3 seasons, fired head coach Todd Bowles on Sunday. The Bucs parted ways with Dirk Cutter, who won just 10 games the last 2 years and finished the 2018 season with the second worst scoring defense in the league. 2 years and Vance Joseph is out in Denver. The Broncos suffered back-to-back losing seasons for the first time in 46 years. The Dolphins fired Adam Gase after 3 seasons. Miami was undisciplined under Gase, committing the third most penalties in the NFL during his tenure. Cincinnati decided it was time for a different voice. Parted ways after 16 seasons with Marvin Lewis, who was 0-7 in his career in playoff games. And it's one and done for Steve Wilks in Arizona. First Cardinals head coach to be fired after just 1 season since 1952. Here's team president Michael Bidwill on the Wilks firing.
And so it's like anything else, whether it's a coach, it's a player, an employee at a business. You know, you look at their background, you look at their experience, you listen to the recommendations, and you try to project their future success. And again, I didn't get this one right, but we're going to try to get it right next time around.
Well, look, it's easy to argue in one sense that one season is hard to judge. On the other hand, I guess if you know you don't have the right situation, maybe best to go ahead and make a move. Coach, which is it, or does it depend? I guess it depends.
Well, I think Bidwell said it right. I mean, he didn't get it right. And so I think for a couple of reasons is, number one, I'm not sure how a head coach can get that done in one season. You know, I don't think anybody was picking them to win the NFC West last year going into the season. From what I've gathered and the research I've done, Steve Wilkes is a heck of a coach, did a great job in Carolina. Again, I don't know if it's a fair, description or assessment of one season as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think, your point is, if they've decided it was a mistake to bring him in the first place, don't compound the mistake by making it last too long. That's one thing. But, I mean, what Coach is saying is true. I mean, you got to give a guy more than 1 year.
Just one and done is hard to, I mean, it's a difficult thing, especially when we look at the teams who've been successful and the continuity they've had. That is a consistent factor. We'll talk about the Bucs now. They are looking for a coach that can work with Jameis Winston. Why, you ask? Here's what Bucs GM Jason Light said about the quarterback. He said, and I quote, "Jameis Winston will be here. We have him under contract for a year. He has done some amazing things for a young quarterback, turns 25 in a week. He's accomplished more than most of the elite quarterbacks have at his age throughout that time span. There's a lot to like about Jameis." Look, it does not sound like he's sitting the fence whatsoever. In fact, I'd say he's doubling down on Jameis Winston. So, look, that's the situation. If you're a head coach, you come in, you know the deal.
Yeah, and it narrows your field of candidates. If you have a head coach candidate that you like and he doesn't want to coach Jameis Winston, then he's not interested in you. You've made that clear that that's a condition of the hiring. But at least you have made that clear, and you know. So you're not going to bring somebody in and say, well, I don't want to work with this guy. That's up front. So, I mean, look. We've been over Jameis Winston a million times. We know what the good and the bad are. We know the electrifying plays. We know the turnovers. We know the trouble he's been off the field. So, the Bucs are committed to him for at least that one more year, per Jason Light's quote, and whoever comes in to coach him is going to probably be judged on how well Jameis plays for him.
I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think there was a lot of ambiguity there, which, Coach, in the end, might be a positive thing.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a hard sell. I think Jameis Winston's a really good player. I was around in the evaluation process when he came out. I think he did a tremendous job. Their offense was third in the league in yardage. The bad part is they threw 25 interceptions, and they weren't able to run the ball consistently. So whoever goes in there, has to establish a run game as well as eliminate the turnovers. And really, their biggest problem is on defense. They have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Last year when we talked about coaching vacancies, we identified Arizona, interestingly enough, as one of the most difficult challenges because they had so many pieces they needed in place. They didn't even have a quarterback on the roster, if I remember correctly, which was incredible. So we're going to go through it. Turns out, apparently that's true, since here we go again. But with 8 head coaching jobs available, let's ask the opposite question, Coach. What are the most desirable places right now, given the situation?
Well, I'm going to start with Green Bay, and a lot of that's Aaron Rodgers, but also it's an organization that has been patient. Mike McCarthy was there the last 13 seasons and had a lot of success. I'm going to say next is probably the Cleveland Browns. Again, a young, established quarterback, broke the touchdown pass record for rookies at 27. All right, so Baker Mayfield, they've got a lot of good young talent there. And I'm also going to go with the Jets. Again, a really young quarterback that's Sam Darnold, a guy that I think has shown a lot. And some good pieces, a lot of cap space. So those are the three that I would rank up there at the top.
Well, look, I mean, in a lot of ways, as the quarterback goes, so does the situation. At least that's sort of the way it sounds. Dan, on the opposite are the candidates, the guys who want to have these jobs, who'll be interviewing for these jobs. What are you hearing? Well,
you hear a lot of names being thrown around yesterday. Obviously, Mike McCarthy, the former Packers coach, is a guy people want to talk to, a guy who's had success in the league. You look at the coordinator ranks, Dan Campbell, who's not a coordinator but an assistant coach with the Saints, he's got several interviews lined up. A very interesting guy who was once an interim head coach in Miami and did all right there. Matt Eberflus, who's the defensive coordinator of the Colts. The Colts defense, a big part of their story this year. He's going to get some interviews. Can't go on them till next week, of course, since the Colts are playing this week. Coach's old friend Vic Fangio is drawing some interest because of how great the Bears defense has been this year. Everybody wants to talk to the Patriots coordinators all the time. It's a long and varied list, and you're going to continue to hear these names. Adam Gase was just fired in Miami, is drawing interest to other places, so it's going to be a mix and match.
We usually set the over-under at about 6. So for coaching, it's a busy year because we have 8 head coaching jobs available as we speak today. All right, listen closely. What do Deion Sanders, Jalen Ramsey, and Phillip Rivers have in common? You won't believe your ears.
Dadgummit, let's go, huh?
That's his favorite word, dadgummit.
It's corny. It's corny. It's corny, though.
You talk the whole bit.
It works, huh?
Gatorade.
Almost important as the physical side. For Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers, the way he gains his mental edge is simple. He trash talks a lot. A quarterback who talks as much as Rivers is unique in NFL circles in its own right. But as Dan Graziano tells us, that's just the start of what makes Rivers' motor mouth stand out on the field.
Y'all put that stinking blitz on tape. Y'all think that's a good blitz? Y'all think that's a good blitz, Rolando?
You know, as a trash talker, he's definitely right up there in the top 5 National Football League.
Oh, quit crying! Quit crying!
He talks almost every play.
Hey, thanks, Cameron. Hey, we'll take that 15. Thank you.
You'll see it when he's mad, and he'll unstrap the glove, he unstraps the helmet, he throws the glove and he'll kick it.
Hey, what kind of cleats those is there?
Reeboks. You was in high school when those came out.
We hear a lot around the league about trash talking, and your name comes up a lot as one of the biggest trash talkers in the league. Is this a well-deserved reputation?
I think it was a little bit earned years ago. Now I have to explain that to my children who are old enough to know, like, Dad, why are you always on that list?
You're sorry. It's a waste of my time. All I know is you mess with me, you got problems. You know what that means? You can't stop it.
You hear a lot of trash talk on the field during an NFL football game. Guys do it all the time. But when Phillip Rivers took over as the Chargers starter in 2006, opponents began to hear something weird. Trash talk, sure.
You talking the whole game, now you're on mute.
But from the quarterback?
It was against Denver, and those guys were known for talking trash. But Phillip started giving it back to him. They thought they were going to intimidate him. And when he started giving it back, that's when I said, whoa, this dude, he can talk with the best of them.
4 or 5 years ago, I was in New York, and we were in San Diego, and they was putting it on us pretty good that game. And Phillip was just talking all kind of trash to Rex and defense.
Not just a good old-fashioned rear-end whipping.
And I was like, I wish he would shut the...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a bad play. I know it's bad. It looks bad. It's bad.
The veteran guys, it's more fun. You know, I remember some back and forth with Jared Allen when he was in Kansas City, you know.
Phillip came in with me. He was always running his mouth. We used to tease him about how many kids he had. I didn't have any kids married at the time. He had like 5, right? He kind of would get just squinty faced and like all just angry, kind of, like, you know, like picturing like mouth half open, like yelling. Just maybe a little flush.
There's usually no script or no plan. It's all within the game.
No script, no plan, and with the deeply religious Rivers, no profanity.
Shoot, 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 oh, shoot.
Which leads to the question, what does he say instead?
He says dadgummit for everything.
Let's go, dadgummit. Dadgummit, what are we stopping and jumping for?
He misses a throw. Dadgummit, if a defensive back is holding, hey, dadgummit, you can't do that.
Dadgummit, let's go, huh?
That's his favorite word, dadgummit.
It's corny. It's corny. It's corny, though.
You talk the whole bit.
It works, huh? At least I'm consistent.
After probably like 3.5 games, you know, when I really started to like, man, he's not cussing at all. This is weird.
I did not know that until about game 7. I was like, Phil, you don't cuss at all? He's like,
There was a time when you did, when you were a young boy?
No,
or
no.
Never in your whole life?
Yeah.
And you've never slipped?
Oh, I can't say I've never slipped in my life. I'm not there proclaiming to be perfect in that regard, but for the most part, yeah, that's me. I grew up in a home that didn't use that language, and then I think as I grew in my faith, that became something that, you know, what comes out of my mouth, I want it to be clean and good.
Just because the language is G-rated doesn't mean it's fun to be on the other end of it.
Here we go. Y'all quit arguing before I whip all of you.
And it's not just Rivers' opponents who feel the sting of his trash talk.
his teammates feel it too.
What is Melvin doing? Come on, Melvin.
Even if he said something to a guy, he always make sure he double back and say, look, man, I just want to win.
Where's everybody? Gosh, that stuff drives me nuts. Come on!
I think overall he understands. That's what makes you a better team. That's what makes him a better quarterback. So he loves to compete, and he loves the idea of being competitive.
Goodness gracious alive! Let's go!
I've always thought that that's important as the quarterback and as a leader is to be one of the guys. So when it's on the line and you need them to lay it out to keep a guy, blitzing linebacker, that they want to do that for you, because they know I'm in it with them. It's not me and y'all come on. It's not, we're in this thing together.
I mean, well done, Dan, first off. But,
that was fun.
Shoot. Listen, the energy it takes. This dude's got 8 kids, another one on the way, and he's got energy to talk and play. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's just part of who he is. It's funny. I was at camp doing that feature, and the next day I was watching practice, and I realized he doesn't even wear like a red non-contact jersey like most of the quarterbacks do. He's just out there in the so he really does want to be one of the guys. He doesn't want to be sort of standing out from his teammates.
What's hilarious is one of the league's nicest guys is also one of the big league's biggest trash talkers. Some of them you can pick, but you wouldn't pick him. All right, listen, so anyway, he's got a big game this weekend, clearly. He'll be doing plenty of talking and hopefully playing as well. Chargers and Ravens and some injuries in this one.
Chargers getting healthier. I mean, Melvin Gordon, their star running back, has been in and out all year with a knee injury. Kind of had it flare up on him at the end of last week's game, but apparently he's going to be good to go. The expectation is, assuming he gets through the week of practice fine. And then tight end Hunter Henry, who hasn't played all year because of an injury back in minicamp, he's expected to play this week as well. We'll see how involved he can be, but he's been practicing, and they expect to have him for this game.
That'll be a huge one for him because I know a year ago, he was one of the better tight ends in football. When they lost him early in the preseason, it was a huge blow to them to the point they had to go sign Antonio, and he's done an outstanding job. So getting Henry back will be big. You know what? We had to pick a team, a wild card team that could make a run. The Chargers are mine. I think, you never know. Of course, anything can happen once the postseason begins.
At 12-4, I mean, that's a pretty good record for a wild card team.
I'm out on a steady limb there. You know what? Listen, nothing gets past me. Just ask me. Listen. The TurboTax pregame show is next. NFL Live back tomorrow. Have a great day. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.